Hi everyone, I'm Dave. Welcome back to Good for Model Railway. Those of you who have watched my recent videos, I think I did one a couple of months back to say we were going to move house. Long story short, we're no longer moving house for various reasons, which I won't go into now, which means that the project of Goodford Mark III could potentially live on. However, in the couple of months we've been discussing moving house, I have been formulating ideas and plans in my mind, so I'm now wondering whether starting a new project here might be a good idea anyway, based on what I've learned. So what I've done is put together a very short few slides, just going over the 5 different possible options. Some of them may surprise you. And really I'll put this together because I want a bit of feedback, opinion on what you guys would do. Fellow modelers would often have better ideas than I've come up with. So just want to hear your feedback and ideas really. Feel free to leave comments with what you come up with. So even putting this presentation together, I learnt a lot. So I thought I'd put the bits down regarding what I've actually discovered. So I like to leave trains running round and round. Except for filming, I don't really use TMD. I think it looks good for pictures and filming, but it's very rare that I actually use it. I do get a lot out of building the layout itself, the engineering side of things. I'm technically a qualified engineer, degree in engineering, so I do enjoy like taking locos apart, messing around with the sound, fixing bits and bobs, servicing, that type of thing. A topic which may require a video on its own, but DCC sound. All my locos are fitted with DCC sound, be it from Zimo or Locksound V5, and I do get a lot of pleasure in setting all that up and making it run properly, adjusting the sounds, adjusting the CV settings. That's been a big part of the hobby for me, because it's all been quite new. When it comes to actually running though, I find because of the size of room, you're never going to get the same effect as you would in the real world. So is DC sound a bit redundant, where you can hear a constant sound of the train running round? I think it is really good if you have a TMD layout, or you're doing a lot of stock movements, or when it comes to like engines leaving the station, give it a bit of thrash, that's quite good. But if you're just leaving stuff running around, you generally can't hear the sound over the noise of the train running anyway, not realistically. So is that an unnecessary evil? The actual trains I like to run, I like to run prototypical trains in length, and often longer freight trains I enjoy watching, as well as fast passenger trains. I do spend a lot of time on YouTube looking at people in certain locations, what they filmed. I think I did a recent running session of what you'd see near Dawlish, and that was all based on information I've gathered, and I like to recreate that in said locations. So that's what I've learned in the last 18 months since I started Goodford Mark III. So the existing layout has a few pain points, which I've discovered through building and running it. It started off as very much a blank canvas. What do I do? I'd only been back in the hobby for a year, I think, and that was in a spare bedroom in my last house. So it was really sort of a kid in a sweet shop, as I think most people are when they start off a new layout. They want everything. And so it did evolve a lot through the planning process, and a lot after having built it. Once it was ballasted, I've changed a couple of bits, but not a great deal. There's been extensions to the fiddle yard, things like that. So it's sort of become a bit of a jack of all trades. I really like the layout. Dead Man's Lane, which is a double A gauge layout based on the Derby RTC, and so you may have realised or seen that a lot of my stock is test train related, and originally the TMD on the layout was going to be based around that, and it's now just become a loco storage area So there's things like that have changed. The fiddle yard, as I said, has changed quite a lot. The bit of the layout just behind me now was going to have other bits on, like ballast sidings, things like that, but that's all been changed as well. So it's one of them where over the time it's evolved and changed, and I worry that it's ended up becoming a bit of a few things, but nothing specific. I think a lot of layouts on the circuit, on the exhibition circuit, are planned and focused from the start, and I feel like this isn't like that. It's only a home layout, it will only ever be a home layout, but I think my OCD kicks in a little bit when I see that it's nothing specific. So coming on to that, I've bought a lot of stock over the time that I've had the layout, and a lot of it isn't based on anywhere specific other than being on the Great Western Main Line. So some stuff you might see down in Dawlish, other stuff you might see up in Didcot, and those seems to be the two sort of main areas. Dawlish just because I like the look of it. I've been down there a couple of times. It's a nice part of the country, and Didcot is somewhere that I've visited a lot. 20 odd years ago when I was standing on the end of platforms getting cold, and a little bit these days as well. So both those areas I seem to focus on modelling for no apparent reason other than that. Other pain points, the fiddle yard has got, I think it's 16 tracks, but most of them are quite short. If I want to run longer trains, there's only really 2 tracks, one in each direction, where I could fit a reasonable length of train, and that being, I think, a loco and maybe 12 wagons, so Freightliner wagons or T-tanks, for example. 12 or 13 of those will fit on the longest track. All the rest are a bit shorter, because it does just span across the width, the 12-foot width of the room. The station itself, you'll see a track plan in a minute, it goes under a tunnel, so the inner track only allows for shorter trains to stop. And when I designed the layout, I wanted to get the maximum length of run possible. So because it's going round a room, the track is generally pushed out to the back wall. So there's not much behind the track, so it's quite hard sometimes to get that depth of field when you're looking at the layout running. So here are the 5 possible solutions. So as I mentioned, keep the existing layout, and I'll run through these in a bit more depth in a sec, but just as a summary. So keep the existing layout, do an extension into the room next door, design and build a new layout in this room, design and build a new layout including next door, or go to N-Gauge. So let's delve into these a little bit deeper. So as I've mentioned, the existing layout, it's the cheapest option. Psychologically, I've moved on from it though. So I worry whether I'd be, I don't say polishing a turd, but I just worry whether I'll be trying to fix something that I don't think I will, and I'll put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'll end up changing it eventually anyway. And the previous pain points I've just gone over would just have to be accepted. The pros of it, it's the cheapest option obviously, and also I may actually get to fully finish a layout in my lifetime, which I've been trying to do for over 40 years now and not. So here's the existing track plan. As you can see, there's a lot of fiddle yard roads on the right hand side. It's very track heavy on the top with the station and the TMD, and it's almost sort of 2 layouts in one. So you've got all the track heavy bit on one side, and the other side is literally just 2 running lines. There's a small junction down one end on the hinge section, which helps out with the fiddle yard. That could easily be removed. I don't think it really gets used that much anyway. So I put this in just so you've got a frame of reference of what exists now versus what I potentially do in the future. So on to the next option. Solution 2 is an extension. So to my left there is a workshop. It's about 12 foot across, same width as this room, and about 13 foot that way. So there is scope in there to do stuff. At the minute it's just got offcuts of wood. There's a workbench in there, and it's just where I keep my tools and golf clubs and bike and random bits. So it could easily all be housed somewhere else. So the second solution is to put a helix in there. So it would come out of this room, go down a helix, and then back into this room. So here's the track plan for the proposed extension. Hopefully you can see the change from the existing layout. So it's literally just taking up one curve of track, which is currently under a covered bit, making a few holes in the wall to go next door, put a helix in. I'm not sure how far down it would go, but maybe a foot, and then coming back into the room with I think 5 or 6 run iron loops to store longer trains on. So yeah, quite a basic addition to the layout. The feedback on that is the extra video tracks aren't actually a huge amount longer than the existing ones. There would just be more of them. I'd be concerned. I've seen plenty of people use helixes. Some work well, some don't. I would have slight concern, I think, of it being purely for my longer trains, to be going up and down them, especially if it's the room next door. If it all comes off, I'm not really going to know. I might hear a bit of a thud. So yeah, there is that concern. And also this room is insulated. The room next door isn't. I don't know if it would be worthwhile insulating the whole room just for the helix. I might as well go on to option 4, which we'll come on to later. And also the track plan involves cutting into the long loop. It's just a technicality, but it would mean that longer freight trains wouldn't actually be able to come up back through the extension if there was something in platform 1, because it would block it. And also if you had it going across platform 1 to the through road, then as a general rule, trains that stop on platform 1 would be fouling that crossover anyway, so it wouldn't really make any difference doing it that way. So that's solution 2. So solution 3, as I said before, I've learnt a lot from building this layout, and the pain points I've listed. I've messed around on AnyRail quite a lot, trying to come up with different ideas, and actually I think the space that I've got, although I feel like the middle of the room is quite unused at the moment, I don't think I'll be able to achieve a lot more from ripping this out and starting again, given the size of room. If I was to do it in 00, it would be different, but would it be that much better? Would it just throw up new pain points? I just think the cost of doing it, well, I just don't know if it would be the best option at the moment. So as I mentioned a minute ago, there is a workshop next door. So if I was to pop up a little shed in the garden for those bits and insulate the room, knock the wall down, I don't know how much it would cost, but it wouldn't be cheap to do. But it would potentially allow a layout of 32 foot by 12 foot, which would of course kill off most of the existing pain points. My only concern with doing this is with such a big layout, would it be too much for one person to operate and potentially too much to build? But I think I've got the time to do it. It's just a case of sticking with it, and yeah, it would be a massive project from start to finish. So having said that, I've drawn up a little track plan to show exactly what I think would be achievable. So as I said earlier, Didcot is my sort of go-to place, and very much inspired on Didcot, I've come up with this track plan. It probably needs a lot of tweaking, but it would give that look and feel of Didcot, and be achievable in that extra space. So whether it would be feasible to do or not, I don't know. It's just looking at the track plan now does scare me somewhat, But yeah, it would be a big project. Last but by no means least, there's the option of starting again in N-Gage. Now, I picked up a couple of IETs, the GWI 802s in N-Gage, and a friend of mine very kindly lent me some Kato set track to try them out on and get a feel for it. It does excite me, and of course there would be the cost of swapping over. I think most of the stock that I've got in 00 I could probably get most of my money back on, so the cost of doing it I probably wouldn't see that much. It's just the hassle of trying to sell it all and not get screwed over online, as seems to be the case these days with a lot of things. But so other concerns I have, which my friend pointed out, was that N-Gage, even more so than 00, stock tends to sell out very quickly, and so if I wanted to try and get the stock to cover a certain area, be it Didcot or Dawlish or both, then would I still be able to get it and not have to pay a massive premium for it? That would be the tricky part of that side of things. I wouldn't bother with DCC sound on N-Gage. I've heard it. I don't think it works particularly well, just because the size of speaker doesn't sort of lend itself to that size. But would I miss it? Would it be a blessing in disguise? I'm not sure. I do, as I said before, I do enjoy modifying and doing stuff to locos, like upgrading the lighting, things like that. N-Gage would be a whole new ballpark to me. Would I still get that thrill from it? Not too sure. Wouldn't know till I try it. And of course, is N-Gage too small? I'll show you in a sec. I've set up a little the little Kato set track on the floor. It does look small, but then with no senior or anything behind, you're not going to get much from it. I do enjoy looking at N-Gage layouts at exhibitions. Would it be too much for one person to operate as well? That's the other concern. Ending on the positives though, it would basically eradicate all of my pain points I have at the moment. So you'd be able to run longer trains, you'd have realistic depth and scenery, you know, a couple of N-Gage tracks or a nice big junction running through a 4-foot wide board on N-Gage would really blow your mind. I think it's yeah, that would be quite exciting to do. I think I wouldn't need to go into the other room if I was to do that, so there's obviously that consideration as well. And I could have a good go at modelling Didcot. I think that would probably be the plan, but I haven't started working on track plans just yet. But I may just modify the Solution 4 plan, make it a bit taller and work on it to run in N-Gage. So yeah, that's it. That's those are the 5 solutions that I've come up with. I'm sure there are dozens more, so I'm open to ideas, open to feedback on what I've said and come up with. Feel free to leave comments, and yeah, thanks for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.